Hello,
Hi,
welcome,
can you
welcome,
hear
welcome
me?
back.
Hi,
We can
hi.
Mic
hear you,
check.
Bhargavi.
Okay, great.
Oh, nice view, Vinod. What
Vinod,
is
what
that?
are you showing us, Vinod? Don't make us jealous of you, okay?
I see. I'll have to switch the camera. I mean, I mean, I don't know how to switch the
But what is
camera.
this? Pots of pearls.
Well,
Oh, is that what
those
it
are
is?
these. This is pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, chocolate which Karthik provided, and my laptop on the side and all.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks. We can see your WhatsApp also. Who all you're texting?
But
Yeah, yeah.
going back to the seeds, see, this is how VC's desk looks like, consuming all kinds of seeds and nuts.
And all the
Yeah,
free
yeah. And
samples from companies looking to raise funding.
there's the Karthik's though, if you notice. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm just trying this camera. I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
okay, no problem. Anyway, guys, welcome to Freewheeling Friday. We are here. We already have somebody saying hi to us.
Yes.
Hello, Ishtiak. Thank you for joining us. Um, so, Bhargavi, let's get started while Vinod tries to fix his camera issues, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think first and foremost, we have recently announced on-ramp program, and we have gone through a bunch of interviews. I think we briefly touched upon this last time, and then we hired a couple of young dynamic um, people to join us in our team, right? So today we have both Sarthak and Sejal with us. I'm gonna put them on so they can introduce themselves.
Drum
And
roll!
Hi.
Hi
Hi.
everyone.
hi Sejal, hi Sarthak.
Hi Karthik.
Hello, hi.
Great, yeah. So why don't you guys just give a brief introduction about yourselves? Who wants to go first?
Ladies first. Sejal maybe.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sejal and I've just joined as an analyst at Java Capital. I'm from Gurgaon and I'm currently residing in Bangalore, and yeah, that's about it.
What did you do, Sejal, before this?
Before this, I was working in the marketing team for FinShots and Ditto, and that was my first job actually.
Great. So, which part of your job at FinShots did you really like?
I guess writing was great. It was therapeutic. But also like whatever marketing campaigns that we put across and the response that we got from the audience, I think that was super amazing. So I think my tenure at FinShots was pretty great. Yeah.
Great. And why this change to VC?
I've always been passionate about startups and coming from an early stage journey, I felt that I could maybe do a breadth role better than a depth role, and I'd been following the space for quite some time, so that's why I jumped into this.
Got it. Great. Welcome to the team. And by the way, I love the background, the candle holders that you have.
Right. Yeah, some decoration.
Nice.
New place.
How did you
Yeah.
find us, Sejal? How did you find Java Capital? You didn't answer that.
Um, okay, so I was doing this program called GrowthX, which was for like product managers and growth and marketing professionals, and that's where I met one of my friends, Varun. And Varun is actually a very close friend of Vinod, and Varun told me that hey, Vinod is sort of looking for analysts, and he has this program newly launched, and you should definitely work under him, and you should try and give the interview. So this was like my first VC interview. I wasn't even planning on switching to VC so early. This was just a leap of faith that I'd taken. So yeah.
All right, Sejal, welcome. We're excited to have you
Thank
here.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm
Sarthak,
crack.
you're up next.
Karthik,
Yes, we can hear you, Vinod.
Karthik, no, I was about to tell in the crack the VC lucky.
All right,
Nobody can hear. Okay,
you're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, go on.
So hi guys, this is Sarthak Singh, and I am basically from Bombay. Completed my bachelor's in financial markets, and after 6 months of graduation in 2020, decided to join a fintech early stage startup, which is into equity management platform, like as an equity management platform, because I always had a penchant for startups. So worked there. I was there for like a good time, 1.5 years, and learned everything about startups that could be done from cap table point of view to most of it. Then eventually, as I always had a penchant for startups and the VC ecosystem as a whole, my founder Satish has was always very supportive in those ends. So as soon as he saw Java's post on LinkedIn with respect to on-ramp analyst program, he sent me the link and he was like, maybe this can be a great place where you can explore the VC ecosystem. So with that respect, I was like, okay. And again, the same thing, leap of faith, not decided when I had to apply, but I was just like, okay, yeah, I mean, Java is a great place, so why not start with it? So that's how it went, and yeah, that's how I'm here, and I'm really grateful for that.
Great.
All right, so it's been, I think we've already crossed the first month, right? So how do
Yes.
you guys
Yeah.
like it so far? What's happening? What do you think? Are you guys liking it, or is it too early?
Definitely liking it. It's just since it's a domain switch, it's a little a bit adjusting in a slow way right now, and it's kind of hectic, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of learnings every day. I don't think I've gone back home or shut my laptop without learning something every day.
All right, sounds good,
Okay,
guys.
I think that's going to go in your bites.
Okay.
Great. What about you, Sarthak?
Of course. So it's been like over 5 weeks now. So like initial days, and yeah, I mean, of course, like when we work at a particular company, this is the domain that we learn about, and that's what I like about as a VC and at Java, that you get to explore a lot of different sectors and get to learn from it, right? And you never know what hits you, like with respect to any industry, and you start exploring it more. And that's what has been happening with Java. Like there are so many companies, amazing companies, I go through every day, explore most of them. I go to come to you guys, okay, like discussions, what is it? So there's a lot of learning, being very honest. And that has been a very a major factor why I consider it to be a very happening place.
All right, thanks for that, Sarthak. I feel so great about our results. It's a
Yeah,
nice
wait,
ego boost. I
can
think
I
we
put
should do
them
it
in the
more often.
spot?
Oh yeah, sure. Okay,
Yeah,
go
this,
for it.
yeah,
So,
this,
what is your main goal for the next 3 months?
Next
So
3 months.
okay.
Or end of the next 3 months, what is it that you think you should have learned, done, anything, right? If you don't have a goal, then that's also fine. But yeah, just wanted to know, have you guys thought through anything?
So when we came, like when as soon as we started the process with Java, and before that as well, right? Attending various seminars and learning from different points. So the learning curve has always been a great aspect of for me in the industry. So I feel overall a learning from the operations to deal different aspects. I want to get a brief idea how how does it work, and also major components to how do you really look at a startup at a different from different perspectives. So when you give your pointers, like Bhargavi, Karthik, or Vinod, we make sure like at the end of the day, how do you look at it? So it gives a very vast perspective with respect to a single startup. So I think that is the major goal that we look like. I personally and Sejal, we had a discussion that we look forward to have. And yeah, overall fund, how does it operate? And so that this 3 months would be typically like, based on like, focusing on that.
Okay,
Yes.
Sejal.
I think, I mean, you cannot know everything in the first go. So, I think by the end of 3 months, I would like to like go deep into one sector and maybe specialize in it, or just like know so much about it that when I look at a startup from that sector, I can just from one glance tell what it is doing and how it is doing and whether or not we should invest, etc. I think that is one goal at the end of 3 months that I'd like to achieve. And besides that, I think I'd like to see a deal from start to end, like from the PPT, from the deck point to the closing of the deal point. So that would be fun to see. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I gain from this, right? Which means we are telling founders, you too will get completely ready to do evaluation and reply to them quickly in the next 3 months. So we will be all set to get more founders reaching out to Java Capital. Is that right? That's what I
For sure.
heard.
Yeah.
For sure.
Great.
Yes. Yeah, that's a subtle hint as to what you're expecting from us as well, right? Faster evaluation, more founders,
Yeah, very
more
subtle. Yeah.
startups.
Yeah, no, all founders founding Sejal and Sarthak now. Yeah, it's any other way.
Okay. Okay.
All right, great guys. Welcome. We are still not able to hear Vinod very clearly, but something is better than nothing, I guess. We can at least see him clearly.
Can you? Hello.
All right, so Vinod, we can hear you in bits and pieces, Vinod.
Something strange.
Yeah. All right, so let's just why don't we move on to the next topic? This is obviously something that has been on the minds of everybody, right? This past week, 10 days, I think Bangalore has experienced some of the worst flooding ever, right? And we've seen, well-known venture capitalists, startup founders, all of them complaining about not being able to reach the airport in time, or one of the startup
Missing
founders had to
flights.
be missing flights, exactly, right? And one of the founders, had to be evacuated from his home on a tractor. What's happening, guys? What is happening in this city? Like, do you think this is still the most obvious choice for startup founders given the state of the infrastructure in the city?
Okay, I think Sarthak and Sejal would still take time. They are the most affected. Looking at all the messages, they said they were stranded literally in floods, right? And
Yeah.
I thought they would be jumping on this question. But I think, see, when I go back to Chennai floods also, right? Because this a similar scenario happened in Chennai, and the IT corridor of Chennai was completely flooded. There was this hue and cry. Twitter was completely full with IT companies, and in fact, some of the companies provided accommodation to their employees in the office for 3 4 days. All this happened, and we don't know if anything happened after that. Life went back to normal. I think, in fact, recently when I visited some of these parts of Chennai which were flooded earlier, I see more new buildings, more new IT parks which has come in closer to the rivers, which got flooded. So I think we have seen what's happening in Bangalore with respect to the cabinet telling they are going to work on the infra. So we hope something will happen, but the best test will be next time if a similar scenario arises. what happens is what I think is next step. Coming to specifically, are startups going to move out? I think it's just too much of operational logistical hassle to take this knee-jerk reaction, because this has been one of the first times this has happened in many years, right? So I don't think any drastic change is going to happen, even with respect to companies moving out or um, uh, working out of some other city.
Okay, I think we lost your audio as well. Bhargavi, we're not able to hear you now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe that was some network issue.
It's got to be. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So I think, Bhargavi, while Vinod, I don't know, Vinod, can you hear us now?
No, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, finally we
can.
can. Yeah.
Maybe I was
So
doing double streaming.
do you want to take a shot at the question, Vinod? Do you want me to repeat what we were discussing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, see, my answers might sound a little slightly older Bangalorean. It was completely divided at some point, saying, look, older Bangaloreans is saying, look, your areas are flooded, and somebody was of, in Mumbai, right? If it rains, in Bangalore, if it rains, people, people. I mean, those, angles to this flooding. I think it doesn't matter which place. I think once you've lived through the city, live, because I think you should believe in doing something for it and complain if an infra is bad. It gets to a point where when comparisons happen, that I lived in all the cities in the country. This is the worst city to stop. Obvious. I think each city view it as right. Like there's comparisons, and fighting over it's that happen on Twitter again, right? Sambar versus the Bangalore sweet sambar, right? I mean, how the sambar? It should be like that. Is my view on all the debate, right?
All right. Oh, that's interesting. So we cannot. I think something happened with your video also. Why don't you just take a second and fix it? Right. Your internet connection is actually very weak. Vinod, I can see it here on my dashboard. All right, we cannot hear you. Yep. All right, let's just see, if Vinod can figure this out on his own. I will just give my 2 cents on this thing, and then, maybe we can move on to the next topic as well. We have plenty of other stuff to discuss. There are some topics that our new analysts, Sejal and Sarthak, have put together. So, we'll pick some of those topics and then have a conversation on that as well. So as far as these Bangalore floods are concerned, right? I mean, it's a shame, right? I mean, there is no question about it that India's Silicon Valley, the IT city or whatever it is, I was just looking at some statistics, and a staggering $45 billion worth of software exports happen from Bangalore. It's not just, it's almost, it's a sixth of all the software exports from this country, right? When you have a city like this, I think at the basic services, I think cities, municipalities, have to focus on. This is shocking, the state of the city. Having said that, I think it's very clear that none of our cities, none of our major cities, right, are in any better position than Bangalore. While this is happening, I just heard news from Hyderabad that Hyderabad also got flooded and one of the bridges was submerged in water, right? So I don't think any of the other cities are also well placed. My prediction on this is, as more and more smaller cities come online, their infrastructure improves, at least catches up a little bit. Or just imagine, the expressway between Mysore and Bangalore. I think startup founders will potentially, look at some of these satellite cities as their basis, and make them the new hubs. I think we're still a little bit away from it. I hope Bangalore, finally wakes up. The authorities finally wake up and fix this issue. Please stop the encroachments. Don't move into encroached land and then start building stuff there. We couldn't stress that enough. I know everybody spent like 5 crores, 6 crores on their villas on these encroached lakes, but still, if you ought to spend those 5, 6 crores, spend it somewhere else. That would be the message from me. All right.
And
So,
I
guys,
think
what do
moving
you?
to satellite towns will be enabled by e-planes also. Yesterday we were discussing with Professor Satya exactly on this, right? So Vinod said, "Hey, maybe I can travel from near Mysore to Bangalore daily," and I saw the prop or the mock-up for the first time, and it was literally parked in a car garage. So I was like, hey, this is something which anyone can park in their garage and then fly from their from the roof of their house. So I think those are the things which will probably also make widening of these cities and residentials more acceptable.
I love how you inserted the portfolio company there. Way to go, Bhargavi.
Karthik, I mean, just bring up my link if you can. If you guys can hear me now, is it better? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
much better.
Okay, switch back to the older laptop. Okay. Yeah. So I think if KP brings up those pictures, and it'll be interesting, right? I mean, this could potentially be the answer. Like this is me and Bhargavi visiting Chennai, right? So I think it was. I had been there, but what I found, Karthik, was in one of the pictures, right? You can see Bhargavi's glee in the eyes. As Satya opens up, really like a childlike. Oh my God, this is the plane. You could really
Because
see that,
this
right?
is in a car shed, right? I didn't expect it to be like so compact.
Yeah. So this was like the next picture will show you that, Karthik, how compact it is, right? It's a size for 2 car shed. Literally where you park your 2 cars, you can put this plane, and I mean you could just fly it wherever you want to, and then you don't need to live on the lakes and valleys of Bangalore. Those can be left to the nature. You could live at really places where it's possible. You could fly in 20 minutes from Bangalore to, let's say, Tumkur, or Mysore actually will take 20 minutes. If you do home to home, it should do not more than 20-25 minutes, and if that becomes a possibility, right, I think it will solve this high density issue to a great extent. But it has to come at a cost, right? I think we'll have to see what is the cost. But this is an electric plane, and it should be sustainable. And if we can produce enough sustainable green energy, then this becomes a massive option, right? All of us can live in our own so-called dream homes inside green zones. You don't need to live at high density potentially. I think that's what we invested. Our thesis was also that, right? This is not just a transport change. I think this will change cities, and that's on e-plane. Actually, it'll change cities and how we live, literally. If this becomes a massive reality in the coming decade, yeah.
That actually looks super exciting, man. I can't wait to ride it.
Yeah.
Changing cities, that should be the play. If you ask me, the tagline, how we live, literally. Yeah.
All right. What do we have next, guys?
Oh, Karthik, you should talk about the other company also, and since you brought that up already, right? There's something exciting happening in the other company where we visited the rocket factory, which was recently inaugurated by the ISRO chairman and the Tata Sons chairman. This is the rocket factory. I know we can't show you a lot because this is under covers a lot of it, except for what we can say. But there's some exciting things happening. Like I put in my tweet, right? I think that, and when we heard it, I mean, I could really feel the nerves. Some absolutely exciting things in the coming months, and that will be, I think a significant change in how we do things actually. So again, awaited from Agnikul, some cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, Vinod, why? I think why don't you just talk a little bit about one of the milestones that these guys have reached?
No, I think look, they're getting almost ready. We should see something happening this year. They keep putting up. One of the patents was granted also. Yes, you're right. For a 3D printed full cryo engine, semi cryo engine, which is what is being built. And yes, this is the first patent that was granted, right? And you can see now the engine is a small portion of this whole thing, but it's India's first semi-cryo engine, and potential applications, national applications also included. And it's just 3D printed, right? We also, it's literally, it's like layering dough. Everything is, we were discussing this with Professor. It's like there are no single joints, but there are millions of joints because
Exactly.
every layer is a joint. Like there are hundreds of millions of welded, but it's laser welded if you wish. In a way,
You
right?
don't see a single crevice anywhere. You don't see a seam anywhere.
Yeah, you wouldn't exactly. It's like a single piece of clothing, cut and sewed together. Not even sewed, everything cut, at the right places for liquids to flow, fuel to flow, ignition to happen, and for all pressures, thrust, everything. I think it's like massive. It's only possible 3D. There's only one or two companies in the world who are doing 3D printed engines, and this is probably the only company which includes all of it in a single chain. Otherwise people even build nozzles separately. They build other pieces separately, but this has a full compact everything put together. Some people ask me, Karthik, why do you want to do VC? Right? I mean, the last couple of days at least, right? It was coming up, in multiple conversations that I and Bhargavi also have been having, right, with our investors, our LPs and others. And my answer, right, I think it would include like a late what we did yesterday, right? It was so exciting to see something really making a change, right? Be it E-Plane or me doing a. I think that is where the excitement is, right? I think the rest of it is a consequence of that energy and excitement and the impact that all of this leaves on our lives, right? I think that's where the excitement is. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe if I tell this, right? But I think that is where the truth is. Frankly, otherwise, where we all could have stayed and earned a fat paycheck, and been happy. I'm assuming, I think that's the exciting portion. I'm hoping Sejal and Sarthak, get a bit of a rub off, and that helps a long way in their careers.
Yeah.
We are reminded of the lack of fat paychecks first week of every month, Vinod.
I know. Yeah, I mean, people sometimes tell, why do you want to do this, right? Because you're not getting paid well enough as you would have. Like, I think there is excitement, I think in the
You have to
largest
live
scheme
it to
of things.
feel it.
Yeah, you have to live it to feel it. And I think that excitement is unbelievably great, You
And
should
we
be-
also met one more company yesterday. I think it's just like seeing so many innovations coming out really tells you that, hey, how can we support such companies, right? Coming out of India, how can we support such founders who are doing that extra mile? And all these people are also letting go of possible fat paychecks and working on cutting edge technologies, right? So I think yeah, I think you have to go and see some of these innovations to get inspired and say that, hey, yeah, you are in the right track. Even if you have played a very tiny role in getting some of these innovations to life, I think it's good enough reason to stay in this for another 20 years.
Yeah, yeah. Exciting. I think I am just still excited to see what's up in the next decade for all of us. Yeah.
All right, sounds
Okay.
good. So, what next, guys? What do you guys want to discuss next?
No, Sarthak should tell us now. He's the new hopefully the producer of the show going ahead.
Yeah.
So you should
Karthik, ask some questions to Karthik. You see?
producer of the show. Yeah.
Do a role reversal.
Yeah. Okay.
Put him in a
Maybe we should.
spot. I
Okay.
can
Maybe
think
we
of
should
5
give them a
topics
shot.
to put him in a spot.
So
Come up with
Sarthak
one.
and Sejal, yeah, you can ask a question to any of us. Yeah, maybe you should try and see if you can put us on the spot. Yeah.
Actually, we have some questions coming up from.
Yeah, we have an
listeners.
audience question. Yeah.
That's a good question as well. Let's just put it up. Why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually a good
see.
question.
All right. It's a
Okay.
question from Akash Bagul. Hey, thanks Akash for the question. So Sarthak, why don't you just go ahead and read the question so for people who are
So
listening?
Akash Bagul has asked a question, and that is: would too many investors be bad for a startup? I see that Agnikul already has 34 plus investors.
Interesting. So, I mean, since I've been somewhat there, right? Look, 34 investors or 100 investors does not matter as long as all of them believe in a very aligned vision. If there is no alignment, I think that's where the problem is, frankly, right? I mean, 34 is actually a small number. I mean, there are cap tables with 250, right? I think till 500. I think that's where the problem is to manage, right? And 34 is actually not a big number. And also, right, these gets consolidated over a period of time, if you've seen. I think it's not 34 is fine for the size of Agnikul currently. I think, if you ask me, they should be able to consolidate a lot more over the next few years, and that should be fine, especially for Agnikul. I think that should not be a problem. Frankly. Yeah, and but generally answering that question, right? Yeah, is it too bad? Like if you have a lot, like say 20 or 30 small people, putting like 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, right? I think then it's like you're managing expectations for a very small check, right? Which is a challenge at times. But 34 investors in Agnikul's case are all large investors, very few, angel alone kind of small investors. So I think there's scope to think. But yeah, overall, if you can get the money from one or two investors, you should be happy ideally. Yes. But diversity also helps. Because why does a Naval Ravikant invest in Agnikul, right? If you only do the 34, he'll come right in a way because it adds value. Why would you take somebody else? Right? Everybody adds some value or another, and I think that's a community of investors also add a significant value to the company. Who can open a door to ISRO, for example, right? That's important, right? Or who can, let's say, find out, there's a chemical factory which can supply liquid oxygen. So, I mean, all those experience really helps eventually. I think more the merrier, but not massive the merrier. This is helpful, but not go more than 50 or 100. I feel.
I think just to add to that, look, I think, as you said, I think the number of investors on the cap table is not necessarily a bad thing. But what is a bad thing is when you have so many angel investors sitting on your cap table, you don't negotiate the rights that you give to these investors very clearly, right? That can backfire on you. So founders, when they are taking angel investors funds on it, you have to be very careful about the kind of rights that you're able to give them. Just imagine, you are going to hire somebody for a key role, and then you have to get permission from all 60, 70 investors sitting on your cap table. That would be a nightmare situation for founders to manage. But as long as, you get a clear picture to the investors on what kind of rights they can exercise and when, there has to be a little bit of balance between the founders and the smaller investors especially. right, then you should be fine. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that you have so many investors. And on the flip side, some other founders prefer to have people from different backgrounds so they can actually help make some connects or open up some other channels for them as customers. So they prefer to have quite a few angel investors. So I don't think, as a rule of thumb, there is nothing wrong with having so many investors on your cap table.
Perfect. I think that answers Akash's question.
And I think there are roll-up vehicles available. You have to just, if you want to reduce the load of logistics of handling so many investors, then today roll-up vehicles are available even in India, which is at no cost to
I think you should
founders.
explain a little bit more what a roll-up vehicle is, Bhargavi, for
Yes.
people who are
Yeah. So,
not very clear about that.
So there are platform. Let's say if we take AngelList as an example, it is a single structure or a SPV created by them, where you can ask your angel investors to invest through the platform, and all the funds come to the company. So as a founder, you have only one single line entry on the cap table, and you have tomorrow, if you have any documents to be signed or anything, you just go to one angel list, right? Who is essentially the custodian, or somebody who is going to follow the compliance. So and you don't have to necessarily go chase 30 investors or 35 investors. So these are some of the latest developments which are coming up, and some of these are available at no cost to founders, right? There might be some cost to investors, and if you can convince investors the benefits that it gives to you, and ask them to take some of those costs, I think these would be good options for founders to explore.
Yep, makes sense. All right, we have more questions coming in, Sarthak.
Yes. So the next question is from Abhishek Gaur. And Abhishek Gaur is asking that with so many startups stepping into the scene, what is the most important thing that the venture capitalists are looking for in a startup to invest in? So what is the value added that, that we see in a startup that we really look, target at? So Abhishek Gaur. So who would like to?
I can take that, Sarthak. Abhishek, thank you so much for your question. Look, I think whether it is, it doesn't matter how many startups are coming in, right? I think it makes our life a little bit difficult to filter out good startups, but eventually, good startups do, surface, right? And when I say good startups, right, we're looking for, broadly three different things. One is the founders, second is the market that they're operating in, and three, their ability to build significant differentiation in the product that they're trying to build, right? So if you have a check or a near check for all three of these things, that makes an interesting startup for us to look at. In fact, most venture capitalists look for similar things when they try to invest.
Perfect. So another question that has come into the box is, how do you go about the EV space? And while raising seed round, how do you evaluate right investors? I think this is a very important question for the founders who seek funding and are not sure about how to go about it with respect to the investors targeting particular theme or sector.
All right, two very interesting questions. Vinod, you want to take the EV space question?
How do you go about the EV space is like a very broad question in the first place. Obviously, very you can currently see, what's changing, what's the adoption curve, where is the adoption, what kind of EVs. We did a larger report in my previous work. So the first adopters are going to be like two-wheelers. The next adopters will be public transport, which is your intra-city transport. The intercity transport is going to be the last, frankly, because technology and the number of miles required, etc. I think last comes, actually speaking, your personal vehicles, which is cars. frankly. But today, right, the market that what you're seeing is exactly behaving, in that format itself. You see, you have two-wheeler adoption higher, three-wheeler adoption, logistics, two-wheelers like the Swiggies, the big baskets, and the delivery vehicles of the world getting fleet vehicles getting a higher adoption because there's economics possible, when you run a fleet rather than an individual vehicle on EV, because EV's life cycles, right, is dependent on the total life cycle value, which is much more optimized for a fleet versus a personal two-wheeler. Same thing, right? A car, right? A fleet will have a better option, like a lithium, like a Blue Smart, right? Are fleeted options. Those will happen first because there is real economics and incentives for adoption there. The personal vehicle will be the last. Will come. For example, I just gave you one overview on how do you go about EV space. Obviously, the EV space is large. You have battery management systems. You have batteries itself. Then you have material science companies. A lot of play that we see in EV, right? So I just leave it at that. That's how you go about it. Somewhat a little bit of a framework. While raising seed round, how to evaluate right investors? Okay, I think this is like a damn good question if you ask me. So just like we evaluate founders, right? I think today, right, founders are extremely smart. They also want to ask you, are they the right investors for you? I think it's a fair question, simply because look, this is a long journey, right? If you don't trust each other, then it really doesn't make sense to take money from an investor just for the sake of money, or for an investor to give money to a founder just because that's the only thing he can do. I mean, I think that is that's not an aspiration, for a VC firm, nor should be an aspiration for a founder, right? It's a both ways aspiration. Because you want to work longer, you want to add value, you want to go and sit for a chai with them and discuss what's happening. I think that really matters in a 10-year, 15-year relationship. So I think it's good to spend some time with investors. And do you have the chemistry with them? Do you have the right vibes with them? Do you really fit in with the ethos of the fund, ethos of the founders of the fund? Right, all that matters. I think you should evaluate that deeply, not just the startup itself and not the money itself. I think that's where we end up spending time going out for a lunch with the founders. Spending time knowing the person actually a little more, and then the business. Obviously, the business interests you. Then you want to know the person also. Same thing applies. I think right founders should spend time with investors, talking beyond just the business pieces, about individual, where they come from, what characters, what value systems that they come from. I think that really matter, for a long-term sustainable relationship in the business.
Absolutely. I hope that answers Abhishek's question.
I just wanted to add one thing, right? For founders, don't so always look at who were your first believers, right? And I think it's very, very important to ensure you have them as partners, your first believers, because money is something that if you're a good company, you are going to get. But your first believers are probably going to go the extra mile, and because you might be one of the special companies in their portfolio or whatever it is, right? So I think from founders, it's very important also, especially if you're a good company where you have more offer than you need, always have that human element also in your decision, and look at who were your truly first believers and partner with them.
Absolutely. Yes. So again, Abhishek has asked another question, and the comment is, "Thanks for taking up the question. Absolutely pleasure, Abhishek. Any day." Adding to it, what is your opinion? That what are the metrics for a SaaS startup in a particular that you look for? In particular, that you look for, like what are the metrics that we look for? So I think as a SaaS, what is the definition of a SaaS startup in what sector? Like especially what they are solving depends on that. And I would like I think Bhargavi would be a better person on that take for with respect to the metrics on different verticals.
Yeah, so thanks, Sarthak. So, in terms of metrics for a SaaS startup, I think given the stage at which at least Java is investing in pre-seed seed stage, many times we may not have any metrics. That is the reality, right? And because the company might be at idea stage, the company might be pre-launch, pre-revenue. So what do you analyze at that stage? So metrics, I think, starts coming in once you start earning some revenues, and they become more relevant for series A plus investors. So, if I have to talk about Java Capital specifically, I think what comes first for us in the stacking order is what is the market in which you're building the solution, how large is the market, how is the team better fit to build a solution in this market? What are the unique insights that the team brings onto the table for this market? And many times in SaaS, you might have to sell outside India. So,
Yes.
do you bring that capability to sell outside India, also reach to other geographies outside India and sell? And how good is the complementary skills in the team, in the founding team, between the founders, who's going to do tech and who's going to do business? So I think these come first, and then it goes to the solution, specific solutions they bring in. So we looked at market, then we looked at the team and the fitment of the team. The third comes the solution in itself. So in terms of what are the other solutions present, what is the white space that you have identified which you are trying to build? So I think these become the initial major factors before we decide to get on a call with a company and engage more, and then comes other secondary factors.
Perfect. Um, So yeah, I think this was a quite a good explanation on what to look for a SaaS metrics. No more question as of now. I think we have answered most of them. We would like to carry on with any other topic that can be taken up for discussion. Any opinion with respect to the funds going having a bigger fund size recently with uh, $4.5 billion fund, or maybe launching such big funds, right? What would be the impact on of that in the startup ecosystem? How do you guys consider it, considering there are so many micro VCs fund which add value, and also such big funds coming into the play, launching a $4.5 billion fund, and other $2 billion fund for only focused on India? So what's your take on that?
I think you should give it a shot if your network is fine. Karthik, can you hear us?
I don't know. Can you guys hear me? It's like my screen's frozen.
We can hear you now.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go on. Go on, Karthik.
Go on.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I heard your question, Sarthak. Look, this is an interesting topic, right? I think one of the funds that I closely follow is Benchmark, and despite having some of the best performing companies in their portfolio, I think that's one fund which still maintained that $400 million sort of a fund size, right? And even though they had an opportunity to actually build much larger fund, they've decided not to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's indicative of the focus that the partners of that fund have on the stage, on the kind of investment that they make, and also the kind of returns that they can give, right? The larger the fund, it'll give you a lot more flexibility in terms of where you can invest, how much you can invest, and so on and so forth, right? But the challenge of giving out of this world returns is also much, much higher, right? Just imagine the number of unicorns that you have to hit with a fund size of $1 billion or more, right? I'm not saying that it's not possible, but it's just that people specialize in a specific stage, and I think they better stick to that stage and the results obviously show whether you're doing $100 million fund or $1 billion fund.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Karthik, there's another question that has come into the comment box, and it is: as a founder, is it really important to have a co-founder? So while building the team at an initial stage, is it mandatory to have a co-founder? I think Karthik's video is a bit like,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me take that, right. Sarthak, for Java Capital itself, right? It's an interesting example. I think for any entrepreneur, it doesn't matter, right? If you're starting a startup or you're starting any firm, I think having another shoulder, a couple of shoulders, is always useful because at some point or the other, right, you are going to get tired for some reason or the other. It could be personal, it could be professional, it could be for other reasons, right? I think at those times, right, you need somebody else to, run the show or, help pick you up. And that's one part of the reason. The other is complementary skill sets, right? Not everything, you know in the world, right? Like they say, right, known as a drop, unknown as a motion. I think all of us know only little or a certain area, right? Having multiple folks really helps, to play across each other's strong points and cover each other's weaknesses. And that goes a long way, in the eyes of the investor, also saying, look, this company has, if something goes wrong with one person, there is an insurance as another co-founder, right? Same thing. I think it applies to any enterprise. I think it applies to any company, either a fund or it's a startup or a SME. I think it's the same thing that goes for all the startups, right? Having a co-founder to cry on, really helps, if you ask me.
Perfect. I hope your the question has been answered for the user and for the question. Now I think we are about to reach our session, like the end of our session. So I think most of any one of you would like to give ending just 2 words for a founder or anyone who's watching this.
Remarks?
Yes, as a remark for the founders who have just.
I think Sarthak, since every Friday we keep giving them so much remarks, I think I'll spare them and say thank you for watching us, joining us, and like we promised last week, we've come back this week. I just hope Sarthak, a new producer for the pre-release sessions, make sure that we all of us are there for all the Fridays. And we make sure the schedule goes on. Yeah, thanks, Sarthak. Thanks.
I will definitely make sure of that, Vinod, and other.
That's my remarks, on behalf of the audience,
For sure.
On behalf of the fund, thank you so much for the questions. Really thoughtful questions coming in, from people who are watching this. Keep them coming. Please join us next time as well. It's let's make this a lot more interactive. We would like it to be more interactive. The whole idea is, it should be freewheeling, right? You just anything that comes out in your mind about startups, that's something that we want to discuss. All right. On that
Sometimes
positive
not
note,
about startups, but you want to ask which is the best dosa joint in South Bangalore. Central Bangalore is also fine. Welcome. Or if you want to tell us, hey guys, go check out this new restaurant.
Bhargavi, there's a problem with that. I've started to realize, me and Karthik, right? So last time we went to a South Indian restaurant, and our 2 new analysts, right? You won't believe. Before I was on a call, Karthik allowed them to order paneer and some roti.
I saw the bill and I was like, oh my
god. What is the word I'm looking for?
What a shame.
What a blasphemy. Blasphemous act was committed by the 2 analysts. They're expected to compensate for it.
We spared the restaurant for delaying our food for like 40 minutes. So it cut off.
Yeah, acts of blasphemy invites the wrath. Anyway, so more dosas. Yeah, next one is dosa, guys. It's on maybe the analyst to find out, where to take us actually this time for a dosa.
working on this research now after this.
Yeah. Make a thesis, Sarthak, best dosa place. Actually, you'll get more hits than, if you put out a thesis on Medium or something. Those are the Bangalore will get you more hits, I'm telling you. Yeah. Anyway, on that good note, right, let's wind up, and Karthik has some performance issues. This may cost a bill to the Java capital again. Thank you all. Thank you, Karthik. I can't hear you. Bye-bye. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
The performance
See you next
issues is
Friday.
not with me, with my laptop. Clarity. Let me clarify. All right, guys. See you next time.
Both have a cost. Both have a cost to a point. Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And both are gonna cost the company.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining.
All right. Good night. Have a great weekend, guys.
Yes. See you next
Bye
time
bye.
at 5.
Sarthak, just stay.